Chris?
Do you remember us?
Yes. Yes.
See?
Okay. I see it. I just put it a moment there.
You look like different.
They, get a haircut every 2 months. So it's cool just to buzz pretty much everything off and all that. So.
I'm trying to think, did you have a
Yes.
tea last time? Okay.
They have like a little single blade razor, so I just kind of, you know, like go past this double, you just kind of.
Just do the best you can, huh?
Just gotta go with that.
Yeah. How are you doing?
I'm okay. How about you guys?
Good.
Good.
I did not expect to see this. That's for sure.
Surprised.
Yes.
Well, let me put some fears aside. We're not here for what you might think we might be here for.
Well, they didn't know what this. That's a computer room. I was like, I didn't know we had a computer room.
Without computers.
Yeah. Exactly.
So you remember, I talked to you, Tammy talked to you, Dave talked to you. We're all from Colorado. And so the last time we talked to you, it's a different situation, right? Our investigation was open and your case was open. That's completely different now. So your case is completely closed. Nothing about what we're going to talk about today has anything to do with an open investigation. So we're not here to get more charges on you or get any statements from you that are going to jam you up anymore, right? That's all done. So all of our cases are closed and the court case is closed. So there's nothing that we're going to talk about today that's going to get you in any type of trouble at all. And so that's, I wanted to make sure you knew that's not why we're here.
Okay.
But why we are here. So the three of us work from three different agencies, right? Quite a bit different. CBI, FBI, and Frederick PD, different goals. And the things that happened with you kind of all brought us together. And as the months have passed on since everything happened, we just keep in touch with each other and we keep talking to each other. And we've all separately kind of said, did Chris seem unique to you? And me and Tammy have talked about this, Dave and I have talked about this. Did Chris's situation seem different to you? And we keep having that conversation. We can't quite put our finger on it, right? We think that your life leading up to all the things that happened were very interesting to us. And for me personally, I don't know if you remember, but one of the last things you told me was, hey, Graham, I'm sorry that I started lying to you. And that stuck with me for the last couple months. It's ingrained in my head, right? I've never, ever worked a case like this where someone told me that ever. And so as I walked away, I thought, Chris is different. Chris is a little bit unique in that regard. So in talking with Tammy and talking with Dave, I said, what did you feel like when it all went down? When we were there, we were talking to you guys, and we all kind of, in our own different way and in our own different wording, said it all happened a bit too quick for us, right? So when we saw you last, we were talking about your family, about your parents, about everyone. And then the next thing you know, for me and Tammy and for Dave, all of a sudden some patrol officers came in and arrested you. And that was far quicker than we had hoped it would happen. And you understand why that happened, and we understand why that happened. But it left us with 1,000 questions that we didn't get to ask. And then even more importantly, I think it probably left you with 1,000 things that you didn't get to talk about with us. I don't know if you feel that way or not, but, and so that's why we're here today. We wanted to kind of talk to you a little bit more about everything, I think there's a lot of things that you didn't get to talk about. And so, that's why we're here.
It began with a phone call that no one expected. A quiet, trembling voice on the other end of a prison line. It wasn't to his parents. It wasn't to his lawyer. It was to Nicole Kessinger's cousin. 7 years after the murders that shattered the Watts family, a strange report surfaced from inside Dodge Correctional Institution. Chris Watts, the man who took the lives of his pregnant wife and 2 young daughters, had allegedly reached out to someone connected to the woman at the center of his affair, Nicole Kessinger. The purpose of the call? To ask about their baby. No one could believe it. Nicole Kessinger had disappeared from public life, vanishing into anonymity after being branded the other woman. Yet, this new rumor claimed that her cousin, a woman who had never spoken publicly, had received a haunting message from the man she wished never to hear about again. According to sources close to the cousin, Chris's tone was calm but chillingly familiar. He reportedly said he just wanted to know if Nicole was okay, and then quietly asked, "Did she ever have the baby?" The words sent a shiver through everyone who heard them. What baby was he talking about? Was it delusion? A twisted fantasy created by guilt and loneliness? Or had there been something more between Chris and Nicole that the world never knew? In the dark corners of online forums, theories exploded. Some said he was hallucinating, haunted by what he'd done. Others believed this was his way of reaching back into a forbidden connection, one that refused to die even behind bars. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Dark Matters True Crime for more chilling true crime stories where the shadows never rest. The story first reached the public through a quiet, local interview, the kind most viewers would have scrolled past, had it not mentioned two infamous names, Chris Watts and Nichol Kessinger. The woman speaking off camera claimed to be Nicole's cousin, and her account painted a picture that was equal parts eerie and heartbreaking. According to her, the call came one Sunday afternoon. The number showed up as blocked. The voice on the other end hushed and hesitant. "This is Chris," he said. She froze. "Chris who?" she asked, though deep down she already knew. The silence that followed was heavy. Then came his question. "Is Nicole okay? Did she ever have the baby?" The cousin was stunned. She told reporters she didn't know what he meant. Nicole, she said, had no baby, at least not one anyone knew about. But Chris's voice lingered, trembling between regret and longing. "She said she would," he whispered, and then the line went dead. Afterward, the cousin said she felt a mix of fear and confusion. Why had he called her? How did he even know who she was? Some began to wonder whether the connection between Chris and Nicole ran deeper than the public ever realized. Perhaps a bond forged in obsession rather than love. The cousin claimed she never spoke to him again, but that one conversation haunted her for months. She began receiving anonymous messages online, strange accounts following her, whispering the same thing Chris had asked. Did she have the baby? Was it delusion from a lonely killer, or a secret too dark to stay buried? After the cousin's story surfaced, the internet erupted with speculation. True crime forums, TikTok sleuths, and YouTube investigators all fixated on one haunting question. What did Chris Watts mean when he asked about the baby? Some dismissed it as delusion. Chris, they argued, was trapped in guilt and confusion, his mind replaying fragments of a life that never existed. But others pointed to something more sinister, a rumor that Nicole Kessinger might have been pregnant before the murders, a secret never revealed to police. It wasn't the first time the theory appeared. In old interrogation videos, detectives asked Nicole if she had been intimate with Chris without protection. Her answer was vague. When pressed about pregnancy, she denied it, but her nervous demeanor only fueled curiosity. Now, with the alleged prison call, everything resurfaced. Chris's words, "She said she would," seemed to suggest an agreement or even a promise. To him, perhaps, it symbolized the future he thought he was choosing when he destroyed his family. Could he have believed Nicole was carrying his child? Could that illusion have justified his monstrous act in his fractured mind? Psychologists who've studied Chris Watts often describe him as emotionally shallow but desperate for validation. If Nicole told him there was a possibility of a baby, even hypothetically, it might have driven him deeper into obsession, blurring fantasy and reality until he convinced himself his double life could somehow exist. Still, no evidence of a pregnancy was ever found. Nicole vanished, and her family refused all interviews. Yet Chris's haunting question, did she ever have the baby? Still echoes through every theory and every thread. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Dark Matters True Crime, because in the next chapter, we uncover how Nicole Kessinger disappeared and why no one has seen her since. After the Watts murders, Nicole Kessinger disappeared as if she had been erased from existence. One day she was the most searched name in America, the woman who had unknowingly or knowingly, depending on who you ask, become part of a nightmare. The next, she was gone. According to official reports, Nicole cooperated fully with investigators. She gave interviews, handed over her phone, and answered questions for hours. But then, something changed. She cut ties with everyone she knew, quit her job, and vanished from public life. Some say she entered witness protection, Others insist she changed her name, left Colorado, and started over under a new identity. But when the rumor of Chris's prison call emerged, whispers began again. If Nicole had truly disappeared, how did he find a way to reach her cousin? Had he been keeping tabs through mutual contacts? Or was this just another ghost from his imagination? A former coworker claimed Nicole once said she would never escape this story. Another remembered her crying in her car after being recognized by a stranger. Whatever the truth, Nicole Kessinger became a woman hunted by her own past, hated by millions for being the other woman, even though she was never charged with a crime. Then came the silence. For years, no photos, no sightings, no trace. Until that single eerie phone call from prison, Chris asking about her. And about the baby. Was Nicole still out there, hiding behind a new name, trying to bury the past? Or was she living with a secret she could never tell? Weeks after news of the phone call broke, a new twist emerged from behind prison walls. Letters allegedly written by Chris Watts himself. Smuggled out through pen pals and intercepted mail, the contents reignited the storm that had just begun to fade. The letters were written in shaky handwriting, filled with religious overtones and haunting confessions. But one stood out from the rest. In it, Chris wrote, "She said she'd start over, that the baby would make it all real. I thought it meant I'd finally be free." For readers, it was chilling. The same baby he had mentioned in the phone call to Nicole Kessinger's cousin. To some, this proved his delusion. To others, it hinted that Nicole had once told him she might be pregnant, a claim she had denied years ago. The letters also included cryptic lines about forgiveness and unfinished promises. In one, Chris mentioned, "If she knew how much I regret it, she'd tell them the truth." Prison sources described Chris as withdrawn, often seen staring into space for hours, muttering to himself about what could have been. Some said he seemed obsessed with the idea of a life that never existed, a fantasy built around Nicole and the baby that might have been. Yet, one chilling question remained. Were these letters confessions of guilt, or desperate attempts to keep Nicole tied to him forever? Investigators never confirmed the authenticity of the letters, but their tone, handwriting, and detail felt unmistakably familiar. And just like that, the cycle of obsession, regret, and delusion began again. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Dark Matters True Crime, because in the next chapter, we'll explore what Nicole's cousin revealed next, and why she now fears for her safety. After the alleged prison letters surfaced, Nicole Kessinger's cousin, the same woman Chris had reportedly called, broke her silence. In a trembling voice during a rare interview, she said the phone call had never felt like closure. Instead, it felt like a warning. She described how, in the middle of that conversation, Chris's tone had shifted. One moment, he was asking about Nicole's life, and the next, he said something she would never forget. "I hope she forgives me, because the truth isn't all out yet." At first, she brushed it off as guilt or delusion, but after seeing the letters, she began to wonder, what truth was he talking about? She revealed that Nicole had confided in her just before vanishing from the public eye in 2018. According to the cousin, Nicole was frightened. She had started receiving strange calls and emails, and one night she told her cousin, "If anything happens to me, it won't just be a coincidence." The cousin didn't understand at the time, but now, she wasn't so sure. She claimed that after the letters went public, she started receiving anonymous messages too. One chilling text simply read, "You don't know everything about them." Was it just internet trolls feeding off the infamy of the Watts case? Or was there truly more to uncover? Something buried deep within the tangled lies of Chris Watts and Nicole Kessinger's secret relationship. The cousin now lives quietly under a different name, terrified that digging deeper might awaken something better left alone. But as Chris sits behind bars, the world keeps asking, what if he wasn't lying? Inside the gray, lifeless walls of Dodge Correctional Institution, rumors began to circulate among inmates and guards alike. They called it the Whisper. Chris Watts, they said, had started talking in his sleep. Low murmurs that sent chills through anyone who heard them. A guard later admitted that he once stopped by Chris's cell at night, and heard him say a name. Nicky, the baby, it's all your fault. No one knew if it was a dream, a confession, or a plea, but after that night, word spread quickly. Some inmates began to taunt him, calling out Nicole's name whenever he walked by. Others avoided him completely, believing he was haunted, not by ghosts but by guilt. Reports from prison staff claimed Chris became increasingly isolated. He refused visits, stopped writing to his pen pals, and spent hours staring at the same wall. When questioned by the chaplain, he reportedly whispered, "There's more to tell, but no one would believe me." Some say he was talking about Nicole. Others believe he was unraveling under the weight of his own lies. But then came something stranger. A note discovered in his Bible during a random cell inspection. It read, "Forgive her too." To whom it referred was never confirmed. Was it Shanann, Nicole, or someone else entirely? Even now, that note remains a dark mystery, one of many fragments left behind by a man whose crimes destroyed his family and whose conscience may never let him rest. And as the whispers continue behind prison walls, one haunting question lingers in the air. Was this guilt, or something more sinister? 7 years after the murders that shattered Frederick, Colorado, Chris sits alone in his prison cell. A man trapped not only by concrete walls, but by the ghosts of every choice he ever made. In a rare moment of vulnerability during a monitored phone call, he was asked if he ever thinks about Sean and Bella and Celeste. His response was slow, almost hollow. "Every day," he said, "they come to me in my dreams. But sometimes, they're not alone." When pressed further, Chris refused to elaborate. But the tone in his voice suggested something darker, that he wasn't just haunted by guilt, but by the shadow of someone else still out there. Someone who, in his mind, had never been held accountable. Those who've studied the case for years believe this could be Chris's way of shifting blame, trying to drag others into his nightmare. Yet others wonder if a sliver of truth hides within his words. Was Nicole Kessinger's involvement more than we were ever told? Did she know what was coming, or worse, help set it in motion? The world may never know. Nicole vanished from public life, changed her identity, and disappeared into the quiet corners of America. But the questions she left behind have never stopped echoing. And Chris, still in his orange jumpsuit, still alone, continues to mutter the same haunting phrase to anyone who'll listen. "It wasn't just me. Perhaps it's denial. Perhaps it's madness. Or perhaps the truth really is darker than we ever imagined." Because in cases like this, evil doesn't end when the handcuffs close. It lingers, whispering from the shadows of the past. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Dark Matters True Crime, where every story digs deeper into the darkness that hides behind ordinary lives.